What's going on, world? My name is Nisha. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to Finding Your Niche with Neish. On this podcast, I help to unpack really what makes you specifically you, because I believe that God has a specific calling on your life, and we want to explore that to see how you can make a difference in this world. Our motto is that life's breakthroughs are one thought away. That's correct. One thought away. You can literally change the trajectory of your life by a subtle shift of perspective, a subtle change of mindset. And I think that I want to help facilitate that idea. And so with this show, I want people to come on and talk about what was that subtle shift that they made that brought them to pursue their specific callings. You know what I just realized? I'm screwed if it's actually pronounced niche. All right, so you may be wondering, wow, she looks like she's in a good place. She seems to have really good energy, positive vibes. Well, rest assured, I can only talk to you from this position because I've done the work, right? The hard work at looking at myself in its most purest form, which in its most purest form is completely flawed, right? It has a lot of room for improvement, and I'm still doing the work. A big factor for me, and an issue that I still balance a lot, that's hard for me to juggle sometimes, is being judgmental. I look at people and I judge them. I said it. I judge people. It's out there. I know you guys do it too. You do it too. I know you do. Maybe you don't. But if you don't, call me because I need work. I need help. But no, seriously, that is something that I'm working on because I have been in opportunities. I have been in circumstances that have been more privileged than others. And it's hard for me sometimes to not project that on other people who are not in the same place that I may be in, and not in the same, don't respond in the same ways that I respond, don't look like how I would prefer for someone to look like or act like or talk like. And so that's a big thing that I'm working on. So y'all pray for me on that. I'm super lazy, like very lazy. People may think that I'm strong-willed, that I'm very determined, and that I'm a go-getter and ambitious. I am, but then I'm not. Like I am when it comes to things that deal with making me better. Which leads to another flaw. I'm selfish. I'm super selfish. I'm very selfish, and I think a lot about what can benefit me. And so I'm doing the work because I'm acknowledging these things. And some of them are getting better than others, and some of them I still have a lot of work to do. And that's what I just wanted to do, is be transparent, because if you know me, you know that I'm super honest. A lot of times too honest. More times than not. Often honest when I don't need to be, per se. And so I just am fascinated with owning yourself, owning your flaws, taking responsibility for your actions, and doing the work. And through my own self-development, my own self-reflections, I've learned that really gets me going, that really gets my juices going, is for people to explore what is wrong with them and how can it become better for the people who are on the other side of that. And so for me, that is my niche. That is Nisha's niche, is doing the work. And so through this show, I am going to help people do that, just that, right? I am interested in talking to people about things that they have not talked about. And that is what's going to happen on this podcast. That is what we are going to dive into. What is your identity crisis? What are some of your abuses that are still, remnant in your life? And what kind of things are you just now realizing about yourself that have been dormant this whole time? Because once you come to the realization of what those things are, you can be the best person that you can possibly be, right? There's a blessing on the other side of that realization. And so I'm here to dig that out of you and to dig that out of the people that will be on this show. So that is Finding Your Niche with Neish. Okay, so you might be wondering, what is a niche? Who is Neish? Let's talk a little bit about both. So a niche is an area or a field of work that is specific, right? It's a specific area of work to the target of people that you are trying to touch ultimately. And who is Neish? Well, I am, and my niche has been to do just that, is to help you find yours. I've always been fascinated in people. I've always been interested in what makes people make decisions. And to me, the biggest decision you can make is how you choose to live your life so that others can benefit from how you do that. And so it's important for me to dive into what makes a person so fascinating, what makes them tick, what makes them upset, what makes them passionate, because I think we all can learn from each other. I think that we all have an amazing story that we can contribute some of our life lessons, some of our biggest failures, some of our greatest successes to one another, so that we can just continue on this path of living and loving one another. And so I am always big on asking questions. Like, if anybody's close to me, if anybody's friends with me, I just have this kind of natural, innate ability, I guess, to just want to know more about someone. And so that is going to be presented through this platform on this podcast, because it's just naturally in me to ask questions. Like, my friends will say something about their life, and then I always have like a follow-up question, a why question or a how question, and I get teased a lot about it because they're like, well, dang, stop being so nosy. But I'm just so interested in people because people are fascinating to me. Do I feel like I found my niche? Kind of. I feel like I'm at the cusp of it. I know a big part of it has to do with the fact that I think it's important that people not only pursue a niche, but for me, I really find it my responsibility to make sure that people are aware that they have one to begin with, let alone finding it. But there's so many people out there in the world who don't even, they just walk around life and just think that this is as good as it gets. And so I'm here to interrupt that thought process, because I think it's so important for people to know that they are called to do something amazingly different than what they may have known or understood thus far. I will say, for me, I learned that it was important to me for people to know that they have a calling in their lives when I started to gain momentum in learning my own. And so through that, my relationship with God, I came to see the realization that I'm here for a purpose. And then I realized that I can't be the only person on earth with that insight. And so I feel like God has that idea for everybody here. And so with that being said, I just started to think on that. I started to harbor on that and think, how can I do that? How can I get people to see that they matter? How can I get people to see that what they have to offer the world matters? I am a creative in like every facet of the word. So I love media, and I love the different mediums to explore ideas. And so I do that through several ways. I do that through videography. I do that through cinematography. I am a producer. I'm an international spoken word artist, director, video editor, you name it. I just love everything that has to deal with media and being able to get information out to large groups of people at a time. So therefore, I dive into the creative realms to get people to think differently, right? To have a freed mind. And so a little bit about me is I'm married. I have a beautiful 5-year-old daughter who just fulfills my life, as well as my husband. And I just love telling stories. Like, that really comes down to it. The bottom line is I'm a professional storyteller, and I love having the responsibility of being able to help people see an idea, believe an idea, to help to evoke change that can be positive for your life. And so I do that through professional storytelling. Now, why you might want to watch this podcast is because everybody that I'm going to talk to has a fascinating story, including yourself. So as you watch this podcast, hopefully it can be a reflection for you to be able to look and see, how can you make a difference? How can you find your niche? Where are you called to lead? Where are you called to just be of service to anyone who may be in need? And how can you solve their problems? And so I'm going to be talking to everybody, from entrepreneurs to other creatives to people who are in an orthodox field of work, and just all around people who are knowledgeable in their craft, and more specifically in their niche. So, because like I said, I love media because it can touch large groups of people at one time. in one incident. And so I just became fascinated with the process. Like I said, I'm a creative, so I love the ability to be able to tell a story in a way that allow people to kind of interpret it for themselves, right? It's not at face value. So when you watch or look at or engulf or engage in art, you have to work. You have to do the work, right? Same with poetry. So with poetry is different because it's not like any other type of literature. The reader has to do the work. They have to go inward. And I think that is so important to go inward. A big thing that I like to say, I don't know where the quote came from, but if you don't go within, you'll go without. And I think that's very important for people to understand that, because the biggest thing that you have for your life is inside of you. And so right now I am on the other side of that insight, right? You see me in this platform, you see me on camera. I'm able to successfully kind of articulate these ideas to you, but it wasn't always that way. I once was in a place where you might be today, where you might have been yesterday, but life was just really great for me. It wasn't all flowers and strawberries. Like, things were not good. I did not live life to my fullest degree. And so with Freed Minds and our motto being that life's breakthroughs are one thought away, that's exactly what occurred to me, which enables me to be able to speak to you from that voice. And so when I was younger, just living life, taking it day by day, not doing anything special, not living in any kind of special way, not having any type of special joy. I was attending church with my mom, and for some reason that day, something just triggered in me, and I actually was saved by the youth minister who happened to be preaching that specific day. And from that point on, I just felt like a jolt of fire just blazed inside of my body, and I felt like life was meaningful, that life was purposeful, and that people mattered. And how can I get this outside of me, right? Because it was just like a burning fire, a blaze of desire to just do better and to live better. And so from that point on, I've been trying to kind of figure out, what does that look like in real life, right? What does that look like in the natural world? And that is doing things like this, helping people to tell their own stories and helping people to think about things, speak about things that they had not yet considered. So I hope you guys tune in to Finding Your Niche with Neish, and maybe through that you'll find yours too.